Have you ever thought about the different types of personalities that surround you, or even the distinct characteristics that mark your own? Have you thought about temperaments and what drives behaviors and what makes you tick, really, in terms of how you process information and even how that determines the types of decisions that you take? Well, if you have wondered about personalities and temperaments, then today's your lucky day, because together we're going to learn about just that. And as this thematic unit is the human element, I want to equip you with tools so that you have greater self-awareness to be able to be a more deliberate student with your studying and just know how you function better, because obtaining that self-awareness really allows for more deliberate measures to actually excel more in school and be deliberate. So I want this to be those necessary tools in your toolbox so that you can be a deliberate and better student, and even just a better learner in general, with wherever you set forth and throughout all your endeavors. So to begin with, we're going to start with this, here where it says mbti.ppt. I know that a lot of computers, including my own, sometimes have trouble opening PPT formats, because that's the older version of PowerPoint. But if that happens, okay, first of all, just click it, and here's what I mean. Canvas actually even has trouble opening it here. So what I want you to do is just click here. It's a little bit slow, isn't it? There we go. Okay, so yeah, once you click it there, I think you probably even get an error here. Okay, PPT is a little bit finicky, but I just want you to download it. Once you download it, guys, go into your downloads. In my case, it's here. Okay, so here's this, MBTI, okay? Go to MBTI and just right-click it. If you have an Apple computer, then just you use the two fingers, and then you go to Open With, and you go to Microsoft PowerPoint. So I hope you caught that. Essentially, it's just click the blue writing here so that it takes you to where you download this, and then just go into your downloads folder, find that, find this download, and right-click it, or use the two fingers, which is the equivalent of right-click, and then you go to Open With, and then you open with PowerPoint. Hopefully you have PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm actually going to use this PowerPoint document to take us through this. All right, so personality types. What code are you? So this is MBTI, guys, which stands for Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. Ooh, what's this about? It sounds so mysterious. Tell me more. I hope that's you. So we begin with our understanding of the word personality. Granted, a lot of things happen throughout our life, and we change. We're dynamic beings. We're not the same way forever, but it's undeniable that there are certain traits that stay with us throughout our lives, despite the passage of time. And that's what we reference when we use this word personality. So the definite, our understanding of it, is a relatively stable set of characteristics that influence an individual's behavior. So we start there. Hopefully you're not grumpy all your life. Hopefully that's not a trait of your personality throughout your life. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's get into Myers-Briggs. So Myers-Briggs was developed by a mother-daughter team in the 1940s, based off of the lifelong work of Carl Jung. So first off, here's the mother-daughter team. Here's Catherine Briggs, and here's Isabel Briggs Myers. And for those of you who don't remember who Carl Jung is, you probably recall from your psych class that Carl Jung is credited and understood to be the founding father of modern-day analytical psychology. So, yeah, he's kind of a big deal. So they use the work of Carl Jung to develop this Myers-Briggs. Okay, this test was intended to bring everyday applications of Jung's work to the public in order to provide personality matches for social and work environments. The test was a new interpretation of Jung's theory and added to it by including how people deal with the outside world. There have been numerous dissertations written about it, and articles and books. FYI, a dissertation is the final piece of writing that you have to submit and have it accepted in your doctorate program. It's like the last thing that you do. Okay, so that's what this is, Myers-Briggs. And when we say MBTI, we mean Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which in essence is 4 letters. And after this, you're going to know what your MBTI is, what those 4 letters are, what is your personality type. And it's really rad. The first time I came across this, I was like blown away because you get to learn more about yourself, which is cool. Okay, so the first letter, guys, that you're going to get from your little quiz that you're going to take is either an E or an I, and that is extroversion or introversion. And that's how we experience the world around us in terms of attitudes. A cool way to remember this is by taking note of the prefixes, okay? So this prefix extra and this prefix intro. The prefix extra means outside. The prefix intro means inwardly. So it's that binary. Extra is outside, intro is inwardly, okay? So when you identify as the extroverted attitude, you relate more easily to the world of people and things outside of you, hence the prefix extra, outside. When you identify as the introverted attitude, you relate more easily to the ideas and concepts in your mind, see, inwardly. So as we're going through this, hopefully one of these rings more of a bell for you. Granted, there are nuances in our personality, and it's not like set in stone. We'll always have like a bit of like in this instance, a bit extroverted, a bit introverted. But from your test, you're going to see that there's a dominant letter that you're going to get. So you'll get more dominant E or more dominant I. So let's continue. So remember, extra, you relate more easily to the world of people and things outside of you. Introvert, you relate more easily to the ideas and concepts in your mind. So out or in? Where do you relate more? Out or in? Okay. And here's this little cool comic strip. So for E, for extroversion, external claims and conditions, they pull you outward. As you can tell, this little cartoon is energized, which leads us to here, energized by other people and external experiences. So think to Christmas time. Many of us have to go to different Christmas gatherings or and we're surrounded by many people and we have to interact and so on and so forth. So ask yourself, does that energize you or does that drain you? Having to socialize and having all this external stimuli. Another thing that comes to mind is the fair too. There's so much going on at the fair. And I think, yeah, Orange County Fair is around the corner. I think there's a good example. And then here's a funny thing. Acts then maybe reflects, because you're drawn to the world of outside of you, the world of people and things outside. And you can take a look at this. The PowerPoint is actually available for you to download and peruse on your own time. Okay, so here are some salient traits of a person who is extroverted. They can be seen as gregarious, which is drawn to large number and variety of relationships. So maybe you're a social butterfly, and loquacious with all sorts of social groups. Enthusiastic, being energetically with the action and at the center of things. So that's a good one. You can ask yourself that. When you enter a party, are you like, okay, the star is here, and you like to be right at the center, or do you like to go in and be low key and just be at the periphery? Okay, but that one's more introvert. But this one's more liking to be at the center of things, the action of things. The initiator, which is a social facilitator, assertively outgoing, builds bridges among people. So are you that person who is introducing people at gatherings? Martha, this is Helen. Mark, this is Mary, so on and so forth. And you're building those bridges so that people won't feel awkward and helping them find a point of commonality to just feel more relaxed in a social gathering. So are you that person who builds bridges between people? Expressive, easy to know, approachable, warm, readily shows feelings. So now we go to introversion. Remember that prefix intro is inwardly, okay? Hence our little comics here, our little strips, or drawings. Okay, so this character feels pushed inward by external claims and intrusions. Let's return to the example of the fair. External claims and intrusions, that could be stimuli, that could be sounds and noises and social interactions and bright lights and just so much going on. Or even Disneyland, the fair, Disneyland, so on and so forth. For an introvert, that's actually draining. So if we return to the example of the Christmas parties, plural, as an introvert, you'll feel drained and you actually need time alone. See? Energized by inner resources, internal experiences. So ask yourself, what energizes you? Is it interacting with others and socializing and being a social butterfly? Or is it spending time alone where you can, go to the gym and work out by yourself, or go take a walk by yourself, go ride your bike by yourself, read a book by yourself, journal by yourself? What energizes you? I think that would be a good way to begin to determine which of these rings more of a bell, either the E or the I. This is funny. Because intro means inwardly. It says reflects, then maybe acts. So sometimes us as introverts, we can get stuck in our head, and we're like stuck in that mode. Okay, here's some salient traits of an introvert. They're intimate, so most comfortable in small groups and with one-on-one relationships. So think, your group of friends, when you guys are hanging out, are you hanging out with a big group, or is it maybe like 3 or 4? What do you prefer? Do you prefer to be in those large groups or in those intimate groups? Quiet, presents himself modestly, drawn to the calm way from the center of action. If we return to that party example, maybe you like to be low key and you like to be at the periphery, away from the center. I know that's me for sure. Okay, contained, well controlled, calm exterior, often difficult for others to read. Okay, so that's E and I. And remember, um, that's our overarching attitude of how we experience the world around us. So either E or I. The second letter is going to determine and describe how you gather information. The first letter, S, sensing. When you proceed with the sensing process, you're interested in what your five senses show you. So what exists in the present. So what's there? What can I look at? And just go off of that, literally. But with the N, which is intuition, you're using your imagination to see new possibilities and insights hidden from the I. So if you're at a place, rather than just going off of what's there presently, and then that's it, everything's literal. With N, with intuition, you're taking these details, you're making connections, you're perceiving patterns, you're thinking forward, thinking ahead. Very much kind of like a detective who's putting things together and what's the word? There's a word that means that you're like perceptive. That's the word. So you're like very perceptive to seek out details and patterns and make connections and think about future possibilities based on what's before you and things like that. So that's more N. Okay. See? So S, interested in what your five senses are showing you in the present. N, you're interested in seeing possibilities and insights hidden from the I. And that's about how you gather information. Here's a little cartoon for S. So S likes things that are definite and measurable. Starts at the beginning, takes things a step at a time, reads instructions, notices details. So if we think about focusing on what is presently at hand, then it does make sense to be a little bit more formulaic and following in order that makes sense because it's what you have before you. Hence this, going off of what's definite and measurable and being linear, taking things a step at a time and reading instructions and noticing detail. So here's some salient traits of an S. Maybe this is you. Concrete, depends on verifiable factual information. Distrusts perceptions. Realistic, values being practical, cost-effective, and exercising common sense. Pragmatic, which means practical essentially. Highly values the usefulness or applications of an idea, more interesting than the idea itself. Experiential. What's the root word of experiential, guys? Experience. Heavily grounded by first-hand past experience, is reluctant to generalize beyond direct experience. So if you'll recall, S sensing is interested in what the five senses tell them at the present moment, right? Experiential. Traditional, trusts what is familiar, supports established groups and methods, honors precedents. So here's the N, guys. The N, which is kind of more like perceptive, and I guess if we could use that word, they like opportunities for being inventive, jumps in anywhere, leaps over steps. And I wrote here, I don't know if you can see it, but it says, maybe you start your essay with your conclusion to establish a direction towards which to head. I'll be real with you guys. When I'm creating my syllabi, when I'm creating my calendars for my courses, I always like to think, okay, well, where do I want my my class to end? And then I kind of work backwards in that fashion. So I very much got N when I took this test. Here's another one: skips directions, follows hunches. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, because if you can see with the bike here, the seat is backwards. Okay. Here's some salient traits of N, intuition. Abstract is comfortable with inferring meaning from ambiguous and non-literal information. Perceptive. So someone with N might have an interest in something abstract, such as art, literature, and film. Imaginative enjoys being ingenious, clever, and novel for its own sake. Intellectual, learning, acquiring knowledge, and mental challenges are valued as an end in itself. Theoretical is conceptual, automatically searches for patterns in observed facts. Remember that whole detective type thing? Detective type mind? Maybe that's you. Comfortable with theories and inventing new ones. Is considered as being resourceful. Original values initiative and enterprising. Enterprising is when you take initiative and if you think about the word entrepreneur, they've taken initiative to begin their own business. So think about it that way. Enterprising, someone who takes initiative. Inventive and novel solutions. Often mistrust conventional wisdom. Okay, so that second letter was how you process information, essentially. How you gather information. Okay, how you gather information, and then this third letter is how you make decisions. So now that you've gathered the information, now based on that comes the action portion, right? So how you make decisions. So you'll get a T or an F. So with T, when you make judgments with thinking, you base your decisions on impersonal analysis and logic. That is highly illogical. I don't know if you guys ever saw Star Trek, the original Star Trek, and that's Spock all the way. A T. Okay, so F, when you make judgments with your feeling, you base your decisions on your values. So let's learn more about this. The T sees things as an onlooker from outside a situation. Kind of the whole objective, like let me get out of this and see it from a helicopter view, like more objective. Takes a long view, which I'm glad I said helicopter view because that's just what this is, right? A long view. Spontaneously finds flaws, criticizes. Critical, comfortable making distinctions, categorizing, making win-lose choices, being in adversarial situations. So maybe you like conflict and you're okay with it. Tough-minded, is results-oriented, the ends justify the means, sticks to the task, is firm, questioning, intellectually independent, resistant to influence, self-confident, logical, values and trusts detached, objective, and logical analysis. Spock all over. maybe that's you. Reasonable is clear thinking, objective, reasoned, and logical in everyday decision making. Now we go to F. Sees things as a participant from within a situation. So whereas the T kind of saw it like outside the situation, like they even step outside of themselves to view things more objectively, the F sees himself as a member, as a participant from within the situation, which is diametrically opposed, I would say. If one, you see yourself as an outsider, as a T, and then with an F, you see yourself as part of it. Takes an immediate and personal view. All right, so here's some salient traits for F. Accepting, is tolerant towards human failings, sees sees the positive side of others, instinctually seeks win-win resolutions of problems, tender-hearted, uses gentle persuasion to influence, is reluctant to force compliance. So compliance is you have to do it because you have to do it. Accommodating, seeks consensus, deferential, which means respectful, conflict avoiding, seeks harmony, affective, with an A, affective, trusts emotions and feelings, values human considerations, in touch with feelings, compassionate, makes decisions on overall impressions, patterns and feelings, including emotional likes and dislikes. So that's the F. The last letter, guys, is how you lead your life. When we say that, it means in terms of do you like to have a game plan and have things decided, or you just go fly off the cuff and just go like spontaneous. So the first one is J, which is judgment. You like to have things decided. Your life is likely to be planned and orderly. That does not mean that you micromanage every single detail. No, it just means you like to have a game plan and march onwards in that direction. I certainly got J. Okay, P, which is when you're living by your perception, you don't want to miss anything. Your way of life is likely to be spontaneous and flexible. It's like if they tell you, hey, drop what you're doing, let's go to the beach right now. A P would say, okay. A J would say, wait, let me check my calendar and see if everything is okay, and if that's possible, then based on that game plan, then you go. Okay. So for the J, this is the one who likes the game plan, enjoys being decisive, likes clear limits and categories, feels comfortable establishing closure. Here's another one for J, some salient traits. Early starter, structures activities to work on one thing at a time. Allows adequate time for proper completion. Is focused. Systematic, prefers orderly, structured, and programmed responses. Likes formal contingency planning. That word contingency simply means expecting possible future outcomes. So contingency planning is when you're prepared for potential future outcomes, such as a flat tire, such as being hungry on the road. Maybe you have a granola bar in your backpack. That's contingency planning. Making sure that you have the jack in case you get a flat tire. That's contingency planning. Scheduled, okay. Creates and easily follows standardized and familiar routines. Planful. Likes to schedule future commitments far in advance. Uses dates and deadlines to organize their energies. In my case, I like to go to concerts and music shows, so I buy tickets for those months in advance. And I'm psyched because I'm going to some Hollywood Bowl concerts this summer, and I bought those months ago. Same thing with trips, you know. Okay, methodical. Implements projects in a planned, organized, and step-by-step manner. Self-programming. Okay, so here's P, which is the one that's attributed as being more spontaneous. Enjoys being curious, discovering surprises. Likes freedom to explore without limits. Feels comfortable maintaining openness. If you'll recall the other one, the J, likes closure. This one's comfortable with openness. And here's some salient traits for perceiving. Prefers variety and multitasking. Most effectively energized when working close to deadlines. That's stressful. Casual, is comfortable making adjustments as the situation requires. Prefers informal guidelines versus structured rules. Is adaptable. Spontaneous, dislikes repeatedly following the same routines. Seeks variety and change. Open-ended, strongly values preserving flexibility and freedom. Dislikes being tied down by long-range plans. Makes flexible plans. Emergent, ad hoc planner. So an ad hoc planner is just like improvised. Moves quickly into action without detailed plans. Plans on the go. Takes risks. So that is it for the 4 letters. Now it's your turn to find out what your 4 letters are, what your Myers-Briggs type indicator is. So you're going to go to this website, 16personalities.com. Click it. Oh, hope I didn't close it. Okay, good. Let's go to 16personalities.com. The internet is a little bit slow for me. It's okay. We just have to be patient. There we go. So, for this, you do not have to make an account. You don't have to you don't have to pay. You don't have to do anything like that. Just click here. So, look, 16personalities.com. Click here. Take the test, and you're given a set of statements, and you decide where you fall. Do you wholeheartedly agree? Do you somewhat agree? Do you more or less agree? Are you kind of neutral about it and don't quite know? You can't say agree or disagree. This is more or less disagree. This is kind of disagree. This is very much disagree. Now, granted, there will be some of these statements where you'll fall right in the middle, neutral. But try to not do that so much. Try to click either agree or disagree as much as possible, so you can get a more accurate result for your Myers-Briggs type indicator. And another thing too, answer based on how you really are. Don't answer based on how you wish you were. Just so that you can get a more accurate result. So take this and do not close the web page with your results, because you're going to be using that later on into this module for our write-up this week. All right. So stay tuned for our next video, which is learning styles.